Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle Me in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. You know, I continue to say this, but all those years ago when I started making videos, I'd never made a video with my face and talking and just going with the flow. I'd never done it. But I said to myself, just do it. You know, with a little practice, you might get a little better at it. And I believe I did. And then, of course, you got to have a theme. You got to have a plan. You don't just make a movie, show up, and everybody gets in place without a script or something. So my theme, my plan, was fairly simple. I wanted to figure out what the heck is going on. And I've been researching since 2005, and this is was 2013 when I started making videos. Of course, now it's 2017. But I had read 100 books or more, hundreds of magazines, watched thousands of videos, reviewed, made comments on tens of thousands of press releases, basically being an observer in the world we're living in, as bizarre as it is. I've had friends of mine say, you know, Rick, it's like we're living in the Twilight Zone. Isn't that crazy? People thinking we're in the Twilight Zone. Then they got movie programs, TV programs, portraying people as zombies. We've discussed everything from conspiracy theories, Council of Foreign Relation, Illuminati, Zionism, psychic research, out-of-body experiences, remote viewing, people trained by the government to leave their body, lots of stuff on UFOs and aliens, all in the pursuit to find out what the heck is going on. And things kind of go with the flow, you know, you read a little bit, and they have citations in the book, little tiny asterisks or numbers, and it tells you where they got that information from. I've got 600-700 books, I think now. I was adding them up the other day, looking around the room at all the bookcases. And so it evolves. This video here is another part of that evolution. And this little new topic I've been pursuing because it was a little confusing. I really wasn't aware of how much this particular aspect of psychic research or psychic reality. They're created this new psychic reality, and they're discarding the old one, the Christian one, apparently even the Islamic, the Muslims' religion. So they want this new paradigm, this new age, this new world order. Got this chart. I finally filled in all the blanks I said I was going to do, of just some of the different channelers or sources of channelers, or even psychics who apparently were getting their information from the other side. Almost 4 feet tall there. So today, moving on with my channelers, we've looked at the raw material. We've looked at Edgar Casey and Carlos Castienda. I added him to the list, and I made videos on his book, A Separate Reality. Get it? a separate reality. So the next one, and I suppose if I keep researching and making the videos and other people watch my videos, that's why I say we, if we keep reviewing this material and going over it and researching it, and there's a comment section below, I appreciate comments, and you may not agree, you can leave that comment, you don't have to be nasty. But I think if we continue to do the research, we may come to some common denominators and common conclusions. So this one was on Kyron, Kryon 2000, Passing the Marker, Understanding the New Millennium Energy. So this has been going on a while, a long while. And I've been watching some of the Kyron videos. I've been taking notes. We'll go over some of those notes. But before I get started with all that, I'll just look at a couple other books just to kind of get us in the groove on what the heck are we talking about here, Rick? I've been kind of organizing my books and went to my storage unit to get some more books out of storage. The Psychic Energy Workbook. This is no small thing that's taking place all over the earth right now. But the question is it a malevolent movement? Is it sinister and evil? Or as they say, Barbara Manichek, Kyron, the raw material, and many of these other challengers, is it all about love? And love is light. And we're all going to be illuminated. Well, I'm a little bit suspicious because all the secret societies, like the Freemasonry and Rosicrucians, Illuminati, and many others, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, Bohemian Grove in California, they have to swear oaths under threat of death, having their throat cut, to keep everything secret. Even in the Jewish Encyclopedia Judaica, I've been going over those books, and their biblical books like the Talmud, the Zohar, Midrash, and other books, the Kabbalah, that's one of the big books of the culture of the historic Jews. It says that in the Encyclopedia Judaica. But they wouldn't allow a lot of that material to be translated into English or other languages for fear that people would read those words. And there's a lot of nasty material in there. You know, a lot of the Kabbalists were accused of sorcery, witchcraft. They've had, you know, burning witches at the stake, beheading people, the Inquisition. Even the, apparently sacrificing young boys, punching holes in them. The Jews were accused of that many times throughout history in some of their religious rituals, ceremonies. Witchcraft is alive and well, and one of their biggest rituals is sacrificing somebody. So I guess if you're going to be a serious witch and graduate, of course you've got to sacrifice somebody. I was watching one video about this insider who came out of the closet, escaped from the witch's coven, and said that they actually drove around town in a van looking for somebody to abduct. And then there's this young girl just walking down the sidewalk, and they pull over, jump out of the van, grab her, take her in the van, take her back to where they're performing this ritual. And they offered her a chance to save her life if she will swear allegiance to Lucifer. And she was a Christian, and she said, "No, I'm not doing that." And they viciously killed her. I'm not making this up. We've all seen the last election. Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, Pizzagate. It's coming out of the closet a lot about the child trafficking, adult human trafficking, enslavement. Apparently this is a big thing. There's plenty of it on the internet, YouTube and alternate websites. You start looking into it, it's just horrific. So what am I trying to say here? Is there anything good with these channelers? Is this Kyron, Lee Carroll, is he sending us, delivering to many people, followers? You're not going to believe this. These are how many books he has, in different languages and everything. This guy's all over the world. This is no small thing, I keep saying. So then you got psychic energy workbooks. I've been going over Edgar Cayce. I'll be doing another one on this or two. Just trying to take our ears and listen to what was in some of those readings when I make the videos, so we can formulate an opinion, an educated opinion, a logical opinion, using common sense. I just got this book in the mail. I need to read it. Tuning In, a journalist and 6 trance channelers, and a message from the other side. A message from the other side. Seeing through the veil. So apparently this other dimension exists, and there are all these different kinds of beings. I got another book in the mail, Kabbalah. The Way of the Jewish Mystic. The Way of the Jewish Mystic. See it on the bottom? And historically, some of the Kabbalists were accused of sorcery. So I suppose a thinking man might want to read this, see what it has to say. Jewish mysticism, says on the back, has flourished. Sometimes brilliantly, sometimes darkly. That's what it says here. I'm not making this up. First 2 sentences in black. For over 5,000 years. Well, my research tells me from the Encyclopedia Judaica and many other books, wherever the Jewish people went, they ran into resistance for their own existence. Whatever they were doing, they were ticking off people. Yet today its teachings are still little understood, even among Jews. So there are a lot of Jewish people out there that are good Jewish people that believe in God, or maybe they're just atheists, but they're not part of this. In Kabbalah, Pearl Epstein offers a lively and accessible introduction into this intriguing world. Oh my. I guess I'm offering some kind of introduction into this intriguing world also. I've been reading this book, made 1 video so far. That would be number 121. But Messengers of Deception and Jacques Vallée, UFO Contacts and Cults, keyword cults there, is of the opinion, and so am I, that this UFO and alien thing is nothing new. Reptilians, gray aliens, glowing spiritual beings, glowing red orbs, bright white orbs, orange orbs, gray aliens who would appear in somebody's bedroom by walking right through the wall, coming right through the closet door. And apparently one lady was being abducted and she cried out in Jesus' name, according to some of the research, and the being dropped her like a hot potato. I'm thinking, wow, that's nice to know. Just saying. It's what I read. Then, of course, the other book that I made a video on, I have to make another one right away. Major trends in Jewish mysticism. So it's important for me, the sequence of when I produce these videos, because one builds on the other. Is this Kyron material, channeled material from some being on the other side who calls himself Kyron, through Lee Carroll. Again, is this a malevolent thing, a sinister thing, or benevolent? Are they trying to save the planet, like they say, and it's all about love? But I was watching Kyron today, and he said there's going to be some pain to get to this new paradigm, this new reality, this new ascension. And he said 911 was a good example of having to take a couple steps back before you step forward again. A lot of people gave up their lives. I say it was an inside plan, and they had plans for a new age and a new world order. That's my interpretation. So, major trends in Jewish mysticism. So we're certainly connecting the dots that historically the Jews have been into the Kabbalah, and the Kabbalah seems to be related to mysticism. That's related to psychic abilities and channeling. The Freudian left. Got to read this book. Wilhelm Reich, Giza Rohem. Mr. Robinson treats with discrimination and urbanity a subject that until now has been obscured by ignorance, prejudice, and cultist. It says cultist on this. Enthusiasm. His book is both a learned and provocative contribution to the intellectual history of our time. Be interesting, because they are messing with our minds. The Freudian left. I've been going over that material. I did find that one website, gnosticmedia.com, I talked about in my last video. Please go look at it. So much evidence that the whole drug movement, hippie movement, rock and roll movement, and I like rock and roll. I like the world that I grew up in. I was considered one of those hippies a while back. But apparently it was all planned. CIA, Black Ops, people like this wanted to change society. Again, we went over that one book review about the ultimate New World Order, about a book that Robert Williams found called The Jewish Utopia. We're connecting the dots. So somebody wants to bring about this new utopian world. No more workers' unions, no more freedoms, no more money. Everybody will be assigned a spot. Little cubicle to live in, maybe. We all become slaves. Those of us who are not part of the ultimate secret society utopia, as Professor Higger wrote about. And of course, from his perspective in Protocols of Zion and the Zionist, they embrace all the Jews when they talk about things. But they also say in their material, the Jews who do not go along will be treated just like the Gentiles, the non-Jews. FYI. Another book I have here, just a couple things I wanted to talk about before I started reading some Kyron material. Modern Miracles, an investigative report on the psychic phenomenon associated with Santa Sai Baba. An esteemed Western scientist sets out to authenticate or discredit the powers of the world-renowned mystic. World-renowned mystic. Here is the meticulous documented account of the truth he uncovered. So I've got to read this. I'm going to keep on going until I get it. Got it? Read this book a long time. It's one of the early books. Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain. So over there in Eastern Europe, Northern Asia, Russia, Ukraine, Poland, and surrounding countries. Apparently there is a huge amount of people with psychic abilities connected. Probably it's part of their culture. And apparently this type of stuff is spreading worldwide. So what is the message? What's it all about? Should we all aspire to be psychics, to learn how to use our power? And we will all manifest wealth for each of us. Annie Besant and C.W. Ledbetter, thought forms. So I added that to my list too, Annie Besant. He's a part of the Theosophist Society. They were in communication with masters and other beings. Another book here I'm reading and going to make videos on, and I added to my list, Mysticism, Evelyn Underhill from England. Let's just look at some of the index here, give you some of the ideas of the title, the different chapters. The point of departure. Leaving your body? What's that all about? Mysticism and vitalism. Mysticism and psychology. The characteristics of mysticism. Mysticism and theology, religion. Mysticism and magic. I kid you not. Right there on the bottom. The awakening of the self. Look how big this book is. I've got some reading to do and some videos to make. The purification of the self. The illumination of the self. Voices and visions. Here we go. Voices and visions. Communicating with something. Ecstasy and rapture. The dark night of the soul. The unitive life. In conclusion. So like I said, this is a complex conversation. So if we just do a little bit at a time, maybe we can make sense of it. We can make a decision. What is with all these secret societies? Remember, this series is named Freemasonry and Satanism. Certainly, if it had a long line, I could have named it Zionism, Illuminati, Lucifer, Satanism, Masonic lodges, Rosicrucian, psychic remote viewing, and many other names, because there are, like the book Constance Kumbi wrote, Beware of the Rainbow. And the rainbow, the New Age, that's what this is all about, even with the pansexualism, transsexualism, and the gay agenda. It's all a little bizarre, as we will see. Those people that were sodomites in the Bible, they were into sodomy. Apparently it says in here, or it talks about it, were those people misunderstood? Is there something wrong with that? Why in the Bible does it say that man shall not sleep with man? Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. You can go look that up. Biblical information on being homosexual. And there's websites that'll give you all the different things that the Bible says. What God says. If you believe in God, which after all this research, we can pretty much all conclude, and maybe agree, that there appears to be another side. Even Carlos Castienza, in that one couple videos I made on his book, A Separate Reality. Get it? A separate reality. You take that little mushroom or other kinds of drugs down there in Mexico, if you go see a shama, or down there in Peru, the Huashka, vine drug, all over the world, the different shamans have different kinds of drugs or ways to induce yourself into this other altered state to communicate and see this other side. But then again, I've got other books, many of them, that give huge warnings about this. Even remote viewers have said, you're afraid of the boogeyman? You don't want to leave your body and go out there on your own. You don't know what you're going to run into. Even vast currents of energy in the ether out there, it can suck you in. So you need to get some training and be of a certain right character. I mean, the fear alone would probably kill a lot of people, even though maybe what they were seeing was an illusion. But the fear alone in that state, in that realm, and some of the beings are pretty grotesque, according to some of the stuff I've gone over. So again, what are we talking about? And if you did notice, I changed my back wall. Those I take pictures since 2013, 2012. I've been using special lenses, and I take pictures of the sun. And the yellow ball you see behind me on those two paintings is not the sun you see in the sky, but the black thing right there. In the center, that black thing, when you take a picture of the sun, it comes out black like that. But behind it, you can see the orb, and then even a little black dot on that. So it's pretty cool tricks you can do with your camera. Don't be looking at the sun. The reason I did that back then, because they were talking about Planet X, Nibiru, Nemesis, Zachariah Stitchins. So I thought, and I've got thousands of pictures like this, that I would get a baseline of what the sun looks like and the different features and tricks I can do, so that if there ever was a change or some other body, heavenly body that came into our solar system or whatever, that I would go back and take pictures again and I would be able to see the difference. So with that said, let me take a look and start reading a little bit from the Kyron material and talk about it a little bit and see if we can gain some insight into this other reality. Alright, like I said, I've been watching some of his videos, which I will be doing to all these things on this chart. I'll be watching videos, if I can find them, about these different people and organizations and channelers and beings. And I try to get some supporting material like a book, because this is book reviews. So it's going to be a while before I finish this project. This is number 123. And I write the number on the back of the book so I know what series it is. And like I said, he has lots of books out there in different languages all over the world. No small thing. 89 international Kyron books. Some of his table of contents. This book was copyrighted in 2000, so I'm not going to read in depth on this book. I have been watching videos and I've been taking notes, which I think is a proper thing to do. And the 8th edition of this book is 2004. So every year he's reprinting more of these, so a lot of people are into this stuff. Alright, so here's some of the table of contents. Time and Reality. Channeled in Indianapolis, Indiana. In Auckland, New Zealand. So the guy's getting around. Time and Reality. Channeled in Nancy, France. Santa Fe, New Mexico. And Melbourne, Australia. Packing for the New Millennium, channeled in Portland, Oregon. 5 Spiritual Millennium Energy Changes. He says there's this new invention coming to planet Earth, which will change everything. So weird about that, because I introduced this in my mysticism Major Trends in Jewish Mysticism, which was series number, got my computer here in front of me, 120. So I did one, I'm going to do part 2. But I did introduce something called the Merkabah. See that light thing? These different shapes? So apparently they mentioned that in the Kabbalistic material mysticism, the Merkabah, apparently it's some kind of thing. This is not a Merkabah, but I'm going to use it as an example. But you can hang it on a string and you start turning it. If you watch Barbara Manisek, and apparently it opens up a portal. This is a orange quartz rock. But apparently you saw what they look like. You can look them up on the computer. But according to Kyron, he mentioned some kind of Merkabah thing. Isn't that interesting? This is a channel mentioning the Merkabah, and then there's the Jewish mysticism, where I'm learning about the Merkabah. So I've got a long ways to go in continuing my education. What is the Merkabah? What kind of magic does it have? Maybe this would work as one if I put it on a string and I just gave it a little spin. He says there's an invention coming. It's going to change the world. Crossing the Bridge of Swords, the third language and new awareness. No more fence sitting. So everybody has to get in this new age thing. According to prophecy, at the end times, whenever they do whatever they're going to do to bring about this new paradigm, this new age, this new world order, people will have to swear allegiance. This is one of the pieces of information I've learned from the dark material, to Lucifer, or you'll be beheaded. And I know you want to laugh and say, that can't happen. Well, crazier things are happening right now. Go over to the Middle East and see. Look what's going on with North Korea. Do you really think that's all really what they're telling us in the news? You really think that country wants to be attacked and destroyed? The media, the news, it's deceiving all of us. All right, back to the book. All right, I'm going to look at the preface here. I'll highlight it a little bit. All right, from the writer. Welcome to Kyron Book 8. Like so many other books being released at this time, this work is dedicated to the new millennium. The title, Passing the Marker, is Kyron's description of our movement into this new energy of 2000, and has been the subject discussed by Kyron for almost 11 years. So this was published around 2000. So that would have been 1990. And so now it's 2017. 37 years. If you pick this book up after the year 2000, you can be sure that it will still be relevant in the events that are ongoing. So if anybody thinks that all this craziness we've seen, the war several times in Iraq, 9/11, and so much more chaos and anarchy all over the world, if anybody thinks it's just an accident or incidental, they're wrong. There are people, in my opinion, working to bring about these events to change the world, to change how we think. For the goal, as we've all heard these elites say, the new world order. Tell it to the Arabs and all those countries that have been destroyed, what the New World Order is all about. And it's not going to stop there. Make no bones about that. Europe, United States, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, all over the world. This is something much bigger than people can even fathom. From the inception of the writing of the Kyron Book 1, The End Times. See what I'm saying? Back in 1989, The End Times. So 38, almost 40 years they've been saying the end times are here. The subject of Kyron's teachings has all pointed to what is happening right now. And also for the next 12 years up to the year 2012. Whereas I normally do not release a Kyron book each year, the information coming in from this channeled material is profoundly different, and it almost demands to be published at this time. So if there are entities communicating with Lee Carroll, and the entity voices through his body, if they actually take over his body, and he's not a fake, what do these beings on the other side want? What's the Bible say? Angels and demons. Good angels, bad angels. There is a lot of joy in this book. If you are new to channeling or Kyron, you might find this information a whole lot less spooky than you thought. Like I said, they're recruiting people every day into this New Age material. Channeling is starting to feel far more human. As we begin to meld into what Kyron calls our higher selves. So apparently, this New Age teaching, this physics, this quantum physics, reality, all this material stuff behind me, my flesh and blood, is going to be this new physics. And everything is going to be more plasma, like water. And we'll have higher psychic and magic abilities. So they say. Or the divinity within. So we're going to become gods. And they do say that a lot. I guess that means that we draw closer to the God self. It doesn't say drawing closer to God. It says drawing closer to the God self. So like I said, when you start watching these channeled messages from different channelers, you got to take some notes and see the common denominator in the messages. We start to really feel the information from the other side, beyond the veil. It becomes closer to us, more familiar. Well, I got a book called Beware of Familiar Spirits. I've showed it. So now they got these spirits making everybody believe they're friendly. They love you. Well, I'm remembering some of the satanic stuff I see on TV all the time now. In the movies, billboards, Emmys, Grammys, football halftime shows, opening of a tunnel in Switzerland, the big goat on the Hoover Dam, Shiva on one of the Empire State Building, big Shiva, the goddess of destruction, projection, the archway of Baal, B-A-A-L, which is the demon god, in New York and London. Then I find out with UNESCO from the United Nations, they're going to put 1,000 of these archways to the devil Baal all over the United States, all over the world. 1,000. Financed and planned by the United Nations. So I guess we know who controls the United Nations. Alright. To start to really feel the information from the other side. So they're feeding us information. That's what it says here. It becomes closer to us, more familiar. Is much more like a phone call than a supernatural visit from beyond. The joy, honor, and congratulations you might feel emanating from this book is due to the fact that we have now passed into the energy that was Kyron's main message back in 1989. "11 years ago. This was published in 2000. He told us that the doom and gloom prophecies do not need to come to pass." So apparently that's the situation. They're trying to bring about this new world order, enslave the masses. Everybody thinks that's not going to happen. The Hunger Games movies series tells it all. and many other movies. But they're using the nuclear option or something really aggressive as a last option because they're expecting the people to be zombies and to just go along with this change. And it will get progressively worse. More restraints and enslavement will be put on the people as they continue to create planned terror attacks, blaming it on this people over here and saying because of that they've got to do this. And most of us are just standing there going, what the heck? He told us we were sitting on the edge of human evolution. So they're trying to say this movement into this New World Order is just a human evolution. And that we could potentially see it in everyday life. In the news, in the weather, and in ourselves. So back in 2000, they're talking about we're going to see this in the weather. So there's a lot of people out there who are aware of the sky spraying and HARP transmitters and Gwen towers and technologies where they can control the weather. They know what they're doing, but most of us don't know what they're doing. But we the people need to wake up to what they're doing. Here is a magazine article I wrote in 1999 called Did You Notice? So he wrote this article in 1999, and when I read it, I did not agree with it. But you're going to be surprised what it says. I can remember with great vividness the feeling of the beginning of my lecture in 1995. Those who had gathered at the United Nations, here he's at the United Nations, Lee Carroll, this channeler, giving them a lecture. In Committee Room 7, were there to hear a message, but the one I was about to give probably wasn't what they had anticipated. How would they take my message of new hope at this prestigious but troubled organization, constantly in turmoil and unresolved conflict? For that matter, what was a Californian metaphysical channel doing talking to diplomats about the state of the world? So let's get this guy's got some clout. He's talking to the people who work at the United Nations, the world's leaders. And he's channeling from Kyron, some entity on the other side. So who's telling the people how to run the world? I began my lecture by telling them, in the Middle East, where the prophecies had told us that the sands would be running red with blood, right now, instead there are two former enemies making water rights together. Well, since the year 2000, and then 2001, and 2017, Syria is under siege and attack. It's been running red with blood for quite a while. So he says instead of running red with blood, the former enemies are making water rights together. I continued by telling them that the doom and gloomers may have the popular airwaves and movies of the week, but the overview of reality of the state of the world was far more hopeful and moving in a new direction. But we know in 2015 they had Jade Helm 15, military exercises all over the United States. They built a lot of FEMA camps, a lot of fields full of coffins, and a lot of things going on, seemingly like a freight train moving towards this New World Order. And he says everything is more hopeful. So I'm just wondering, what should we people believe? It is far more dramatic and commercial to frighten than to soothe. And the marketeers were giving us just what they knew would frighten us. Whereas just 10 years ago, the shouts in the Middle East were revenge and deserved lands. Today they are deciding what lands to give away, which areas to retreat from, and are you saying, how can we make this work? And he goes, did you notice? So he's painting a nice picture to the United Nations. But we, sitting here in 2017, can look back and go, oh my, it hasn't been nice at all. But a lot of people, like in the United States, many of them haven't had the repercussions of the economic downturn oppressed on them. A lot of people are just having a good time right now. They don't really care about the Middle East or the people losing their homes in the United States and many other places around the world, or people losing their jobs. They're talking about the robotics industry is going to continue to grow, and more people will be losing more and more jobs. And do you really believe that the powers that be are going to provide all those people without jobs with food and housing and enjoyment of life? Who's going to pay for that? Whereas just 10 years ago we had a Cold War that constantly kept us wondering if our kids would make it at all, today we are sending 1.5 billion tons of wheat to the troubled Russia, the place where the evil empire, the former enemy, used to be. He goes, did you notice? Well, I'm wondering, a lot of people are aware that apparently the Cold War was just another psyop, a black operation meant to move forward to the New World Order. They did that so they could get all the countries to fork out a lot of money from the treasuries, and these big corporations were growing. Israel was getting tons of money, controlling a lot of things. The secret societies were in charge. Just reading my highlighted portion, skipping down to the bottom. You can go get this book. Whereas just 10 years ago we were reeling in the horrible predictions of the upcoming millennium, prophecies that were being given by old prophets, and today we stand with none of them having come to pass. Well, I beg to differ. A lot has come to pass. Israel's growing larger, huge. Has plans for the whole Middle East, if you believe the Yahoo image site and those maps and drawings of a greater Israel, and all the other activities all over the world, European Union. So I'd say things are coming to pass. Something is happening. The consciousness of humanity is beginning to change. Slowly but certainly. And I think it is too. But I think they're intentionally bringing it about the way they want to. A lot of people are being beguiled. More beer breweries opening up and little prosperity here. The stock market is soaring. What if it all comes crashing down tomorrow? What will people do? Now it even gets better here. Communism has almost disappeared. I don't agree with that. By mutual demand of the people, and now most of the world's turmoil is tribal. Most of the strife is over how to bring many opposing sides back to the peace table. Did you notice? That's what he says to the United Nations. By invitation, I have returned 2 more times to the United Nations, the latest being at the end of 1998. Now they expect to hear the good news, and I often have a room filled with smiling faces. They have seen the overview too. In the building in New York, where there never seems to be agreement or resolution, they are seeing a consciousness shift. Humans on earth are beginning to hate less and love more. Well, go look at some of the press releases about Donald Trump. They're even calling him a traitor. So it seems to me hate is up. The Hegelian dialectic, divide and conquer, is ever increasing. Pitting everybody against everybody. There is more patience. There is more hope. There is more compassion. I'm not seeing it. Tell it to the Syrians right now. The Ukrainians. The Iraqis. The Afghanistan. Oh, sure, the old guard from the past is still trying to get back to the way it was. with car bombings and a desperate terrorist acts. Well, a lot of people are aware that a lot of these terrorist acts, like 9/11, are inside jobs, meant to bring about this new paradigm. My opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion. But the chiefs keep coming back to the table to smoke the peace pipe again. But their storylines are now outdated and trite compared to the real miracles at hand. Former political prisoners are now heads of countries. He's talking about Mandela. Long-term despots and tyrants have been overthrown by their own populations. It's all politics, all mind control, all deception. Our current Pope is preaching forgiveness and is suddenly outspoken in areas that were never seen before in the Catholic Church. People of high consciousness are working on the Council of Elders, a wisdom council made up of indigenous peoples of the world, one that might even counsel the United Nations. Did you notice? So just a little bit more on this preface, this introduction. I looked up the word millennium in the dictionary. It had two definitions, he says. A span of 1,000 years, a millennium. A hoped-for period of joy, serenity, prosperity, and justice. Did you know that? He's talking to the United Nations. We actively choose, I'm having trouble reading today, to trust in the God within us. We don't trust in God anymore, we trust in the God within us. I guess that's part of this New Age religion. That spark of grandness that will always choose love over hate, peace over war, forgiveness over revenge. We trusted in a new kind of human, one who we are currently seeing all over the world, representing a true evolution of the human spirit. So I've got some notes I'm going to go over, and I'll come back to the book for a few minutes. Alright, it's time to try to finish this video. It's Friday, May 19th, 2017. Lee Carroll, Kyron. I've been watching the videos. I suggest people go do that to hear what the guy's saying. What Kyron, this entity from the other side, is informing we the people, if it's truly the case, or is it all a fraud? That's the question. So let me just go over some of my notes while I was watching the videos. Then we'll look at the book a little more and wrap up the second hour of this video. I think it's important. This channeled material is definitely part of the New Age. And it's much more extensive, so vast, all over the world. People are being sucked in. And I think we need to talk about it. Think about it. Question it. Especially when you hear these notes I have here. Alright, so this was September 16th, 2014 video. I watched it on the 15th, 2017 of this month. Instructions to Channel is the name of the video. Kyron, learn to channel for yourself. So is it wise for us to try to communicate with these interdimensional beings? Archons, watchers, masters, angels, demons, pixies, elves. Maybe they are the gray aliens, reptilians, insectoids, blue avians, tall whites. So many others. Palladians, Galactic Federation. You can just keep thinking these things from watching all these videos. So, watching the video, I just take notes when I'm watching keywords. It says Dragon's Awakening, he's talking about. Dragon's Awakening? Remember the snake in the Garden of Eden? Wouldn't that be a reptile? The reptilians, shapeshifters, reptiles. Dragons are reptiles. The you who is the divine. So they're preaching in this new age, Kyron, and some of the other ones that I'll be going over, that we ourselves are God. Peacefulness you can have through channeling. The three energies we have. Take yourself apart for a few moments. Sit with God and see through the veil. The realm of angels and ghosts and beings. Again, these are just keywords I wrote down watching a video. No task is too difficult for the old soul. Moving on. Apparently, all this is to shape us into some kind of new being, all this education. To shape us into being a master also. Turn us into these beings, these angels. What you have allowed to shape your Akashic records, you may ask, why me? Says Earth moving into the next stage. So they're talking about this ascension, new paradigm, new age, new world order. Do not fear what you're going to see, he says. It may seem negative in response to your magnificence. That's what he's saying. So when you watch these videos, you got to be a little bit discerning. You got to scratch. You get it. Make sure you have a notebook and you can take notes so you can think about this stuff. Because a lot of people get sucked in. They don't pay attention to the words. Do not fear what you're going to see, Kyron says. This is some being on the other side. Kyron. Watch the video. Apparently the human being's name is Lee Carroll. So do not fear what you're going to see. It may seem negative in response to your magnificence. That sounds a little suspicious. Alright, we got another one here. Lee Carroll channels Kyron about the spirit box. I guess he made this video on August 20, 2013. I watched it on 5/15/2017. The Crimson Circle private reading. Before you try to channel, you need to take off your watch, your glasses, and all kinds of jewelry. Part of the procedure. Again, I'm just reporting some of the things he said. So apparently it was a first-time personal reading for Andre Farella. And he had to get into a meditative mode when you go to do this channeling. We know yoga is really popular right now and meditation. And we know, I repeat myself, but they are bent on destroying Christianity, discrediting Jesus, destroying religion as we know it, and they say it in the New Age material. They say that's the old way. We have to accept the new way so humanity can ascend. Just the stuff I learn. I'm Kyron, magnetic service. That's how he talks. It's time for the old souls to make a difference on the planet. There is an invention coming, One that will let people see the quantum fields, quantum physics. I guess like seeing an aura or seeing ghost. I had a friend of mine, a female, probably in her middle ages, 40 years old. And wherever she went, she could see these beings, ghosts or whatever. Like a little girl on a corner would be crying. It wasn't a live, materialized human being. It was a ghost. On this old farmhouse corner where we lived, in our area. And she would go downtown, Bangor, Maine, and say, "There's a man standing there. He's a spirit." She could see these things. And I believed her. It did cause her a lot of personal problems in her life. They questioned her sanity. Alright, so there's an invention coming. A Merkaba. Remember we went over the Jewish mysticism and the Merkaba? Looking at, if you take a Merkaba, apparently it's a huge Merkaba. This big thing that can spin around. There's my pictures of those. But apparently if you get this Merkaba, you can look it up. M-E-R-K-A-B-A. I showed pictures in the previous video. But if you look at a human being through the Merkaba, it allows something to be seen, never seen before. Apparently, this new invention, it'll be a 20-foot wide Merkaba. 24 feet. Wow. It will show the duality. It's called the spirit box. It's supposed to be some kind of quantum filter. So I guess I got to look more into that. More notes here. Just keywords. I'll say them and talk about them if I need to. Apparently, human beings now have a lack of self-worth. Energies that you give attention, not an energy with a horn and a tail. So apparently he's talking about the devil. The attribute of the dark side, there's the devil, wants to beat you up through your family, your business, even your dreams. So as I've been saying, we're under attack. Physically, mentally, spiritually. Our world is being attacked. Sky spraying of chemicals, HARP transmissions, terror events. They controlling the economy to suck money and the wealth from we the people. Destroying the Middle East. Even bombing and attacking more aggressively with the new presidency, Donald Trump. Apparently they attacked a huge convoy of Assad's, the president of Syria's, his military. So they are bent to take Assad, Syria down. And apparently Iran is next. They're doing it to the USA. They started it in the USA back in the 60s with the dark forces of the CIA, not probably all the CIA people, but the secret societies, Freemasonic lodges, and other organizations, and probably not all the lowly people, even witchcraft, Zionism, all these secret societies. They've been messing with our reality, bringing us drugs, rock and roll. I like rock and roll. And all this other New Age, rainbow, New Age material. It's meant, in my opinion, to destroy the world as we know it. And according to this material, Kyron, that's the price we have to pay to see planet Earth ascend into its next stage of evolution. So if I don't keep watching some of these people on my chart here, these channelers, we're going to go see Nancy Leader with Zeta Talk, Valerie Donner, She channels Myra from the Pleiadians. Daryl Anka, he channels Bashar. There's so many. I got a whole list here. I'm just wondering if the conversation from these beings from the other side is going to be the same material, the same New Age material. So far, it is. It matches the secret doctrine from Helena Blavatsky. It matches the Kabbalah material, Morals and Dogma, Albert Pike's book, and so much more. Quite interesting. So when darkness raises its tail, Kyron says, be compassionate. So when they did 911, you shouldn't get angry. Be compassionate. So he says. Be compassionate instead of criticizing it or being critical. What raises your emotions? Evil, politics, war, destruction. What if you could only see compassion, love? They don't want us to react to all the evil they're doing. They want us to just be compassionate and love. Sounds like they just want us to continue let them do what they're doing. Apparently for some new age, a new world order like the Hunger Games movie. What do you think? We should all fall for it like the Trojan horse? The enemy has gone. Open the gates. Bring the big horse in. Not knowing there's people inside. In the middle of the night, they're going to crawl out, open the gates, and let all the enemy in that went out of sight and were hiding. Troy, the Trojan horse. So do we have a big deception in play right now? It seems so. For anything on the planet, for the thieves, dishonesty, the crooks, the politicians, people who did 911, the banksters, the Zionists, all the people creating all the evil, look at these entities with compassion. Work within your own self, because you have divinity within yourself. Your cells will see this new age. God is in you. Teaching. Just reading some of my notes from watching numerous videos. I'll probably watch a few more Kyron videos, take some more notes. The forces of Lucifer are beings brings many into its reality. The forces of Lucifer, he says. Are we following this lighted path? So is he talking about the forces of Lucifer being the lighted path? And he says, they say in this new age, love is the way and love is light. You cannot stop the ball in its rolling. So he says, we can't stop this new age movement. Remember the Eurovision, like American Idol program, the singing contest? But this is in Europe. And the winner was, in 2014, Cochita Wurst. Cochita means a female part. Wurst is a sausage, a male part. You get it. Dressed like Jesus in the head and a silky woman on the clothes below. Androgynous. Singing the song, The Phoenix Rising, which has the words, you can't stop us. So it says right here, in the Kyron material, you cannot stop the ball in its rolling. So if you do enough studying here, you start to see the common denominators, which is the whole purpose for the amount of material I do. The young people see the truth. That's what he says in his video. Well, I think the young people have been beguiled. They're invited to the party. We're building another brewery downtown. There's a festival. Everything is good. Meanwhile, there seems to be some sinister plan in the making behind the scenes. The youngest of the young can, and the oldest of the old. So you're talking about young souls and old souls. Go from this place different than you came. So when you watch his videos, he wants you to be different than when you started watching it. Or you go to his lectures. The process of channeling is not that unusual. And we all know, I'm reading my notes from Kyron's videos, and we know throughout history, in the Bible, before Jesus even, have always been prophets. People who had communication with this other world. Information, apparently, to try to help we the people. The process of channeling is not that unusual, but Kyron says, but it needs to be practiced. And I'm thinking to myself, he's telling us we all need to start learning how to channel. And my brain says, danger, danger, warning. Alright, moving on. This video was March 16, 2017. I watched it on 5/15/2017. At least that's the date it was posted. Not quite sure when he made these videos. But Kyron teaches exactly how to instruct your cells. His partner, so when Kyron occupies Lee Carroll, he calls him his partner, who show us some of the grandness inside. So they want to show you some of the grandness inside yourself. Timelessness of what they are doing. I see the potential of all you listeners. That's what he says. How can something be inside me that I don't know about? So he's questioning the crowd, probably during a lecture. And a lot of people I've talked to deny that they have a soul or a spirit. They deny that there's a God. But then a lot of other people believe it, but they're just confused and they don't know. So he says to the audience, how can something be inside me that I don't know about? We the people need to recalibrate. Everything in our reality that we use as a brain function is not the real reality. The DNA, trillions in your body, they talk to each other. DNA is an esoteric control. So the DNA in our bodies, and I believe this somewhat, is under some kind of holographic reality created all around me, which may manifest me as a physical being. Because we all know if you take an electronic microscope and you zoom down in your arm or even a piece of steel, and you zoom far enough, you're going to see moving atoms and molecules. So everything in this room, the desk, the chair, the wood, the paintings, all moving molecules, all assembled, all controlled by some kind of gravitational field, some kind of glue, quantum physics. We know that. So he's saying all DNA is a smart body systems. The body is a field, and you can see the hologram over a human body if you are gifted psychic or if you use a special device. Something with 2 sheets of glass with Dionysian coal, you burn coal dye poured inside. A scientist invented this years ago, called Dionysian. So you take that sheet of glass with coal dyed, about a 1/4 inch apart, and you look through it, you look at another human being, you can see an aura. Different colors. Indicates different health and feelings, emotions. So apparently at the airport, if you had a couple of these big sheets of glass with Dionysian poured inside, coal dye, you could see people getting off the plane or getting on a plane, and if somebody was planning on blowing something up, their auric field would be quite erratic. Sharp spikes coming out of it, a red hue, moving viciously. Emotions. Stuff people don't know. So the body is a field, not just an organ. Hair, toenails, everything. So the evolved human is coming. You are in control of even time, he says. So if we learn how to use this power we have, we can control time. We can stop time. Remember, we talked in the past about the Philadelphia experiment, Project Montauk, using electromagnetic vortexes, like a little twister tornado. And apparently it distorts time. And they were abducting young boys in New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and pushing them through there into other times, not able to retrieve them intentionally, but if the little boys found their way back into the tunnel, then they would question them what they saw on the other side. Then there was the Jacob's ladder, the two poles, where they have the electricity that goes up and down, Jacob's ladder. If you create one of those and you drop a penny through it, it'll reappear across the room 20 feet. Even a rat, a live animal, a rabbit. I've gone over this stuff. We'll be looking at these issues again and again. There's something more to our reality than we know. And I think this New Age, New World Order stuff that they're propagating onto we the people, propaganda, deception, they're not doing it for our benefit. At least our benefit they're not. But for their benefit, whoever wants to be the aristocrats of the world, the people who control everything right now, the money, like in the Hunger Games movie. There is something coming. There's no doubt about that. We're not going to go back to the old ways. I'll agree to that. You are in control of time. On planet Earth, old souls awake, Kyron says. Alright, it's another page here of my notes, watching some Kyron videos. You can go on YouTube and put in Kyron and watch a few, take some notes. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think when you evaluate it. The key to stop the aging process is to talk to the innate. An affirmation. Affirmation. So what's an affirmation? It's like a prayer. Could be magical. What is reality? What is witchcraft? What is the Kabbalah all about? What is mysticism? But anyways, affirmations are another thing, or saying evocations, like, in a simple, silly example, but it'll get the point across. Abracadabra, hocus pocus, open sesame. So apparently, geometria and this occult, secret stuff like the Kabbalah, witchcraft, involves saying these words, which are vibrations. And if you know exactly the vibrations, you can create magical events or different kinds of crystals, or maybe this Merkaba. So that's what all this Kabbalah and witchcraft and magic is all about. Things that they know, that they study, but they don't want the rest of us to know. How does voodoo work? Voodoo is actually pretty simple. That's why they want to get a piece of your hair or your skin or blood, whatever. Because everything is resonance. It's like if you have two guitars laying next to each other and you hit the A key, bang, the other guitar, the A key, will start ringing. Bang. And a tuning fork, same thing. It's because it's resonance. We humans have a frequency. So if you take some of my hair and you take it a mile away, my vibration in this quantum field, reality, is going to resonate with that hair a mile away, and there's actually going to be a beam between me and it. That's how voodoo works. So when you have that beam, like a radio station frequency, 95.5, and then you put a carrier signal on it, like music, FM music, that's how you can listen to songs over that 95.5 kilohertz beam FM radio station, is they put a carrier signal on it to bring the audio music. Well, the same thing with me and my hair a mile away, and the beam between me and it, they put a carrier thought form on it. Like they take flames to the hair. And the feeling and the effect of that flame, I will feel if you know how to practice voodoo. Or they take a knife and they stab a doll made with the hair and skin of a person, and that creates a thought form in the witchcraft, the sorcerer. They stab it, and that thought form goes down to the back to the person, and they feel a stab in their chest. It's all signals. So you really didn't get stabbed in the chest, but it felt like you did. If they ripped off the arm of the doll, it would feel like your arm is being ripped off. I just like to share this stuff so people can understand what we are dealing with. Alright, so DNA, the accumulative consciousness, all one entity. Brain building, bridge to innate. Body also connecting to the Hall of Record, the Akashic Records. So I believe this is a little bit of interesting information. But if let's say you forgot somebody's name, Brian somebody, you're talking to a friend. Man, I can't remember his name. If you instruct your brain, retrieve and deliver that name to me. And you give it an instruction. Your spiritual self hears you and goes about the effort to do it. And 15 minutes later, you'll be talking to your friend still, or maybe you're walking down the street, you left your friend, and pump in your brain, you come to Brian Smith. And you can do this in so many different ways for so many different things. I believe, we are all connected to a larger consciousness. They say there's a silver cord in the top of everybody's head, and if you sever it, you'll die. So without our spirit, soul inside our bodies, our physical bodies would just plop over dead anyways. So we need the spiritual body. And there's books on this. We've gone over this material. We'll go over it again. I like to baby step this stuff. Just talk a little bit. And on the whole scope of things, if we look at enough books, a lot of people might wake up and realize we, in fact, do manifest our own reality. But I think this New Age and all this stuff they're feeding us, they're not trying to have us manufacture a reality that's good for us, like it says in this material. We're supposed to look compassionate upon the evil things that they're doing. They're trying to deceive us and have us create a reality that we think is what we want, but they're not doing it for our benefit, in my opinion. And if you even doubt that, tell it to all the people in the Middle East that have been killed, murdered in all those countries. Remember, that is the birthplace of a lot of humanity today, the Middle East. So a lot of people probably have a DNA connection with those people in Greece, in Egypt, in Russia, in the Middle East, North Africa. So we're all related to those people that they're killing. Iraq, Syria, Iran next. Go look at a picture of a crowd of people in Iran. You'll swear you're looking at a bunch of people in downtown New York. They're as white and European as you can imagine. But they don't want people to understand what's really taking place. This isn't about Iranians, Iraqians. It's about these evil, malevolent forces who want to rid the planet of the rest of us. They don't like God's teachings. And 2,000 years ago, Jesus was rejected, crucified, and rose from the dead. And a religion was created. And the same thing, hundreds of years later, Muhammad came to the Middle East. They were being destroyed by the outsiders. He was a prophet. He had connections to the other side. And they created a religion around his teachings, Islam. The same thing with the Hindu religion, or Buddhist religion, or even the shamanic tribes all over the world. They had these teachings. I hope you find this conversation interesting. So let me try to finish my notes and read a little bit more from Lee Carroll's book. One of his books, one of his many books, where he's channeling Kyron. The DNA, the innate, is for spiritual survival. So like I said before, we need to be connected to the spiritual world for our survival. Brain keeps you alive corporally. The innate knows what ancients knew, the spiritual being inside you. Something to do with this new age and the raising the consciousness of humanity will allow Earth to cross the bridge to an ascended planetary situation. So I guess they think that the Earth is going to manifest maybe something like in one of these pictures behind me. The black dot there, oops, move my hand, is actually the white thing you see in the sky, the bright light. That's the black thing when you take a picture with a camera. And then there's a sphere behind it, as you can see there, and a little black dot. But anyways, just imagine some kind of new evolved Earth that looks almost something like out of some fantasy movie. People have seen the pictures. There's enough of this new age material out there. So they say that's what we need to do to get the brain, all the humans, to think differently, to help bring this manifestation of an ascended planetary situation about. If that all made any sense. Affirmations are important. Okay, so abracadabra, hocus pocus, open sesame, using magical words. Affirmations are important. Create one and talk to your innate self on a regular basis. So talk to your spirit soul on a regular basis with some kind of affirmation like a prayer. And if you look at the Jewish people in pictures on the Yahoo image site anywhere, you'll see a lot of those Jewish people with the black robes and the curly hair, and all over Israel and near the Temple Mount where they want to rebuild King Solomon's temple. And they're doing this. They're doing a repeating of a particular prayer 24/7. They have prophets that have told them they're going to take over the world. They're going to be the aristocrats. They're going to bring about this new world. So what are they praying for? What are they trying to manifest? And what are they doing with the propaganda and their control of the media, the movie places, production, Hollywood, radio stations, newspapers, magazines, educational system, medical system, economic system, scientific system, universities, everything. They're training all of us, or programming all of us with propaganda, deception, to help bring about this new reality. And the terrorist events are, again, it's like a mind shock. It's meant to stir us up and bring about fear. So when they enact new legislation or disperse troops in our streets with machine guns to protect us, that we'll buy that hook, line, and sinker. Okay, mining the Akashic records. That's the records up there in the sky somewhere, and maybe different layers of the electromagnetic field around the Earth. Documents everything on planet Earth. This whole holographic thing of our reality apparently has a hall of records. So mining the Akashic records is done through the innate affirmations, etc. Kyron wants you to connect to the innate. Kyron wants you to connect to your spiritual God self. Are you buying it? Drop your karma. Get rid of it. So karma, of course, is something that builds up. Again, I'm not preaching this stuff as truth. I'm just preaching this stuff as stuff I've learned. I'm not really preaching. I'm sharing what they say, what they teach. But apparently, if you're a bad person running around hurting people all the time, you create bad karma. And bad things will happen to you, or apparently when you die, it has something to do with your soul growth or a lack of soul growth, and what happens in your next reincarnation, or even worse, if it's the end of all your incarnations and you're deemed a failure, a spiritual being that can't progress, do they spew you right out of the atmosphere into the lost realm of darkness? I don't know. The pits of hell. I don't know. Just theorizing here, talking and thinking. So the innate will do what you tell it. So your soul will do what you tell it. A lot of people make a deal with the devil. Mentally. Give me this and I'll follow you. Hollywood people have testified on talk shows, it's on the internet, that they even had to sign it in blood. It's all kinds of these satanic Illuminati rituals documented. Interrupted by my phone again. Alright. There is reincarnation the way it is. Old souls know better. Innate will give you a short life if that's what you want. The Palladians have told us, so he talks about communicating with the Palladians. That's interesting. You don't have to die to learn to be spiritual. Longer lifetimes are the key to knowing the self. So like I said, you go watch these videos. I guess I got a little bit more here to go. Watch this one on 5/16. Apparently it was published April 7th, 2017. And the name of this video is The Enemy is Here. There is something more. The intent to go further. The room is alive with entities, spiritual beings, angelic beings. Kyron calls them family. The divas, the elves, they are all divine energy, benevolent energy. You see what I'm saying? Watch his videos. Listen to him say these things. What do you think? You got elves and divas and angels and all kinds of entities in the room where he's doing a lecture. Sounds like Barbara Marnasek. She's communicating with the Palladians. I always make jokes with my friends because she opened one video with a lecture saying, the Palladians are here, the pixies are here, the elves are here. All of the entities, welcome. So apparently when she's doing a lecture and she goes into a trance, she can see all those beings. Of course, the audience can't. Is it all a hoax? The messages are pleading with people to look around and see who they are. Ascension process that we have heard about all our lives. Transformation to another life without dying. Transformation of biology. Becoming another person. Find the master inside you. Things are changing. So this was apparently said in 2015. Can the evil, according to Kyron here, get more evil? And Kyron says, yes. And you will see it. The things you fear have been manufactured. They want you in fear. I'll agree with that. Part of your body wants to get a hold of you. It may be painful. Any more Kyron here? Alright, moving on. Kyron, May 12th, 2017. Watch this one on 5/17. Kyron teaches about the Palladians' influence on our history and how we will follow in their footsteps. humans like us appeared here on Earth 200,000 years ago. Those who seeded us. So they're talking about the Zechariah Stitchin's material, the Anunnaki, planet Nibiru, the seven sisters and the Pleiadians. So they're talking about the seven sister star systems, the Pleiades. When we get the invention, that's that huge Merkaba, that is coming, ability to change quantum energy, we will hear and see the others. We all know they're building that, or they've already built it and using it, CERN, the collider, which had the seemingly satanic ritual, just like the Swiss tunnel in Geneva, no, in the Swiss Alps, near there. And they had that satanic ritual, the grand opening. If you haven't seen it, you need to go look at it. It boggles the mind. Even the CERN material, the ceremony they had is very similar. Similar to the Emmys, Grammys, events they had with those rituals, Beyonce, Katy Perry, Super Bowl halftime shows. If you haven't seen these things, just type in your computer, satanic rituals, super halftime show, Emmys, Grammys, and you'll see the beings, even with Madonna, with the horns and the outfits, and it's right out of hell. Not making this up, you can go see it. The Bohemian Grove, they throw a baby in the fire and call it the cremation of care. A lot of our famous presidents and politicians go there every year. Rewrite spiritual systems. Honor God, but in a different way. Revelations about the snake in the garden. So they're trying to say Lucifer's really not bad. Just a misunderstood entity. God made a mistake. Shouldn't have cast all those beings out of heaven. The Watchers. The ones apparently, according to the Bible even, found the human women fair and mated with them. This is part of ancient history. Part of mythology. Those beings you see, half horse, half man, half snake, half human, half fish and all this. Apparently these divine entities mated with human women, and the offspring were not normal humans. Apparently this is one of the reasons why they had the Great Flood. The DNA was so corrupted, I mean, it would have created a ghoulish, evil, monstrous planet. So they had to start all over with humanity. And they're doing these same things now. Transgenderism and other things. It's going to get progressively worse. And I said this back in 2006, 7, 8, 9, and 10 about the gay marriage thing and all that. And generally speaking, 60% of the people were opposed to it. But the propaganda kept on coming. After a couple years, just like with Florida, with the lottery system, where the people voted against it, the propaganda kept on coming in the news. How it benefited the school systems. What they were going to do nice things. How good it was for us. And 5 or 6 years later, it was just a matter of propaganda and education, and the lottery was accepted. And the same thing with the gay agenda. And the same thing with the New Age agenda. And the same thing with the New Age and the New World Order. I was talking to somebody yesterday. We were out at a jazz place, me and my girlfriend. And my friend said something derogatory about President Donald Trump. And his ignorance about global warming. That's why he was getting quite huffy. And he said, yeah, he's not doing a thing. And I said, well, I don't think there's anything unusual going on. The humans didn't have anything to do with this. There are sky spraying chemicals in the sky, obviously controlling the weather. It's acknowledged on many videos and all kinds of other stuff. Websites, even government websites. And they have the HAARP transmitters, which can microwave the ice fields and melt them. We put stuff in a microwave to cook it. And he looked at me and he goes, huh, you're one of them. So apparently, as prophesized, good will be bad, bad will be good. So people who kind of know the truth will be the enemy of all the people who have been turned into some kind of mindless zombies. Regrettably. But that's all prophesied. The evil forces are at work, according to what I have concluded after, I think anybody will agree, after all the work I've done in 13 years, hundreds of books, hundreds of magazines, thousands of videos, hundreds of thousands of, or tens of thousands pages of press releases and stuff I've downloaded, cataloged, made comments, communicated with other people, observing reality. And all that you can throw in the trash. A lot of people have seen all the craziness going on. The Mandela effect. So a lot of people are aware it's a bizarro world. So it seems. Or like my friend Tim once said, it's like the Twilight Zone now, Rick. So I think we can all agree to that. But is it for our benefit? For our enslavement, destruction? So these Palladians came here a couple, 200,000 years ago, apparently, according to them, seeded humanity, created us. And when we get the new invention, we'll all be able to see the quantum energy field. Go look up Project Bluebeam. They've got satellites in space and all kinds of high-tech equipment now. They can create holograms, images in the air. So they want to rewrite the spiritual systems. They want to honor God, but in a different way. Revelations about the snake in the garden, so they're going to tell us he's really the good guy. Garden and talking snake are representatives of a creative energy. So he's really not an evil being. He gave Eve the apple against God's commands. This is a creative energy. In reality, of light and dark was given to us as an allegory. So they want to say the Bible's not real. It's just an allegory. It's just a metaphor. That's our history. Those who came and changed our reality did so after their change 1 million years ago. So these Palladian entities, or whatever else, they evolved 1 million years ago. 200,000 years ago they came to Earth and created us, and we're going to evolve, and later on we'll go create some other beings, and so on and so on. Go watch the Kyron videos yourself, and you'll see. And all these other channelers. I'm just curious when I read the books and when I watch those videos. Am I going to get the same storyline over and over and over? I suspect I am. The galactic involvement, certain planets and peoples become aware. So again, we're getting back to this stuff with David Wilcock. I got a couple books in the mail. I'll show you them right now. I got so many books I couldn't find the one I wanted. It was a David Wilcock book, but I did order some more books by him. I got them in the mail today. The Synchronicity Key, The Hidden Intelligence Guiding the Universe and You, The Source Field Investigation, David Wilcock. So you can even see some of what I just said on the cover of this book matches the stuff we're going over in these New Age videos. The Reincarnation of Edgar Casey, Interdimensional Communication and Global Transformation, David Wilcock. Again, the stuff is all connected. Saw a couple other books that just might be mentioned again. Psychic Self-Defense. How do you defend yourself against these spiritual beings? Are we under attack 24/7 in our dreams and in our lives, like Kyron says we are? Is the government really into remote viewing, training people to leave their bodies, spy on people, spy on countries? Apparently, when you leave your body, if you're strong enough and trained well enough, you can actually enter the body of another person and take over their motor functions, control of their body, even to the point where you might get them a gun and go shoot a bunch of people, and then leave that entity's body to be holding the bag, so to speak. The blame put on him. Everybody saw him shoot everybody, so he must have done it. What can they do with remote viewing? Possession. course, Barbara Marcinek, I keep talking about, Bringers of the Dawn, teaching from the Palladians again. Beings. There's all these books. I've got a lot of work to do to keep on reading and sharing. Virtual Government, CA Mind Control Operations in America. This is no joke. MK Ultra, Project Montauk, abducting people, putting them in cages, experimenting on them. Heck, they were doing that since World War II and before. I have some books on some horrific examples of what they've already done, what they're doing. Here's one of what they're doing. Another book we got to go over. Chemtrails, HARP, and Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth. I'm not making this stuff up. I got the books. You've looked up in the sky. You've seen the pictures in your own city and town. Apparently, it can cause something called Morgellons disease. Those fibers and chemicals that get in your body causes some kind of live wormy type thing to be in our bodies. And apparently a lot of people have this now. Here's a HARP system that can be right outside in your harbor. It's disguised. A high-frequency radio transmitter right here. And I've got books where they were caught turning them on, seeing what would happen to the population. Geoengineering. They are controlling the weather. They are causing droughts. They're into this heavily. They are intent on bringing about this new paradigm. And then I'm reading, here's another one I haven't read yet. Racial Zionism. Who controls the world right now? Who controls the banks, the money of most of the world's systems? The beast computer that monitors everything. Prime Minister Sharon of Israel said, look it up, don't believe me. Don't worry about the USA. We control the USA. And remember, it is the Illuminati Rothschilds, part of the Balfour Agreement in World War I, World War II, that was all planned for the last 100, 200 years to get the Palestinians land to create this state of Israel, which has extensive plans going way beyond that. And I believe they're using the New Age material to get people to voluntarily be part of it and accept it. And again, I went over this Jewish mysticism. I've got to make another video about that. This book. But it mentions extensively the Merkabah. Go look it up on your computer. Get educated on this stuff. And I'm reading the Kyron material mentions the Merkabah. So let me try to finish my notes here. Only got like one small portion left to read on my notes from watching all those Kyron videos. Alright. Consciousness is shifting. Weather is shifting. So why is Kyron saying in the year 2000 the weather is shifting? They're making the weather shift. They're controlling it. I just showed you one book. There's plenty of material out there. There is no returning to normal. Normal is old. People want the economy we had before. Instead, there is a recalibration of things. A recalibration. I like how they use words. So this new world they're going to bring us, where people will be microchipped, and the people they don't want will be killed. And these aristocrats, these elites, will control everything. Let's just call it a recalibration of planet Earth. Kyron says that's good news. The potential for world peace is here. The kick, get this, 911 was painful. And part of it, so he's saying 911 was part of it. These people are bringing about this new paradigm. And 911 was necessary. Well, apparently the Israelis had a hand in that. Go look up Mr. Webster Tarpley's 911 synthetic terror. I've gone over that. I've made a video or two. The 911 event put compassion on earth. It moved the whole earth, so Kyron says. The whole earth was deceived, in my opinion. He says the irony, it took terrorism to create 911. It didn't. Who controls the terrorists? Where do they get their money and weapons? And able to get through customs and airports? It's all one big global plan. Even the dark influences came together to change Earth. Kyron's admitting this, saying this. Even the dark influences on this video I watched. Kyron teaches about the Palladians' influence on our history. You can go look that up. So don't believe me. Please watch the video. Take notes. So the dark influences came together. They did 911. We all know that. There is a plan. And people will come into the plan, accept a new age and a new world order willingly. They're embracing all this rainbow agenda stuff. This that they are the divine, they are God stuff. And eventually they will say the thing that's hurting the earth now will be Christians and good people. Not just Christians, but people who don't swear allegiance to this thing. Maybe they'll say Lucifer. They're saying Lucifer was misunderstood in this material. All right, I want to go now back to the book and just read a little bit, very little. I put a couple little tabs here. So let's go see what I highlighted when I was looking at it and why I highlighted. Like here's one here now, just this much on one of my tabs. Kyron speaking. Now human. That's the way he talks if you watch the video. You are in training. You who are spiritually awakening. You who realize that this is not the end of the test, and instead realize it is the beginning of a new earth. It's time you took your place in the now. What was once considered the end is now intermixing with the new beginning. Remember what we said about that path that is a straight line. It indeed joins itself at some point over the horizon. What seems to be an end is not. That is why the indigo children are here. I've read a little bit about the indigo children. I need to go over that in the future. They are here to meet you at the supposed end of the path on earth, to guide you to the extension of the end, into a new beginning. Hope you like my drama. I like to make my videos a little entertaining, for myself too. Alright, I highlighted this little portion. What does it say? There is a family that is beside your chair. And in that family is the Kyron, whose existence for eons now has been to love and inform you. So if you've been watching this video, what do you think? They're here to love us? Never asking, no agenda, never demanding. I'm a business person. I own my own business. If I had somebody telling me that, I'd be really suspicious. But that's just me after 20-something years of being in business. The ones who act the sweetest and friendliest towards you, beware. These are the kinds of people who become politicians and stuff. Sharks. I remain as your friend and family. I remain in love watching you do something no one expected, changing the universe itself. I remain on earth until it is over. And that, my dear family, will be a long time from now. Wow. Who is Kyron? Is it another name for Lucifer? It's going to be here for a long time. We leave with the same love we came with, and indeed we will be back. Let the listener and the reader alike know that this is the day, that this day they are dearly loved. Let the new earth begin with those who are awakening to their power. Those who hear and read these words, you in love, Kyron. Is it a benevolent being? Is it a reincarnation of Jesus? Kind of spooky stuff, isn't it? Alright, here's another little thing I tabbed. I'm reading the book and I say, I want to share that. I don't want to read this whole book. Human duality is going to start to distance itself from the higher self. For the first time in human spiritual history, the actual duality balance of humans will change. It must, to allow for the ascension process, that which we have been speaking of so often. Human duality is the part of you that you have elected to come in with, which is of the lower vibration that the angel inside you. So they call him the spiritual being inside you an angel. It is designed to temper all of spirituality that you have. It is the doubting Thomas. It's curious that Kyron knows what the word doubting Thomas is. It is the part of you that questions all things spiritually. And it is appropriate and balanced. And we have discussed before, the magnetic grid of planet Earth helps to support human duality to the degree that it has been for eons of time. Alright, you highlighted some more stuff here. World politics. Page 140. World politics. Kyron speaking. Kyron, what is going to happen politically on the planet regarding world politics? We'll say something to you here that we said a few weeks ago to a group on another continent, China. Governments, listen to this. If you do not give choice to your people, you will not exist long. The new consciousness of all citizens of all countries has already begun to change with respect to what they expect in leadership. So the populations are changing, have changed. And again, like I said about my buddy talking about global warming last night, he said, so you're one of them. So if you're opposed to the gay agenda, you're a hater, you're a Christian. So you wonder who is going to be the one that's villainized, to be made the villains. What's the majority of the population buying? What have they been sucked into? Do they even know it? This is not a statement to any specific government saying that you're going to lose power. Instead, it is an invitation for governments to change in order to satisfy something that is brewing within the populations, and that is a need for a choice. So the propaganda, the newspapers, the educational systems, all these things have been under attack for almost 100 years. Back in the 20s and 1918s and whatever, after World War I, when the communists were growing all over the planet, there were congressional hearings. The communists, who were these utopians using socialism as a deception, testified in Congress that they were infiltrating everything. It's even been disclosed they've infiltrated the Vatican, the churches, everything. Rockefeller took over the medical systems. I got books on this. We've gone over it. We'll go over it again. Blessed is the government on this planet that has integrity for each citizen it controls. For this is the government that will shine above all the others. I just say you're supposed to believe what you read. That sounds nice. Blessed is the government on the planet that understands that there is a spiritual awakening within its citizens and keeps that attribute separate from government. Alright, so there's two things here that support the house of power. Number one, the choice of spiritual growth. So I guess we got to give witchcraft a chance, the Kabbalist a chance, the Illuminati, the Satanist a chance. Number two, when either tries to mingle with the other, the house will fall. So the government shouldn't be messing with the church. So they say, but they've been doing it all along. It's just that we all haven't been aware that the people involved in the government, from the Freemasons to the Zionists to the Illuminati, have all been Satanists, Luciferians. But they don't declare themselves. But they were putting people in office, running the show, creating the wars. How many people are awake to this stuff? World monetary system. Kyron, what is going to happen to money? We'll give you a potential that some of you are already realizing. We have said to you before that the planet is going to have to agree on what things are worth. So they're talking about a one world currency, one world government, one world leadership, one world religion. And there's going to have to be a consensus among nations on this. To put it in monetary terms, we will say this. There will come a time when there is no such thing as exchange rates between nations. In addition to decide what things are worth, there must be a decision on what the human work ethic shall be and what human work is worth as well. Welcome to the Hunger Games movie. You think they're going to take care of you or me or everybody else? They're going to take care of themselves. Alright, we got another page here. I'm going to end this video here shortly. But this is a good topic. World religion. It's in the book. Kyron, what is going to happen with religion? What are we going to do about diverse spiritual doctrines, issues around the planet that are so different? How are we ever going to agree on anything when one religious group says that the other group is wrong? Well, the Hegelian dialectic is at play here. They're doing things to pit these religious groups against each other all the time now. People got along before. But they don't want people to get along. They want the conflict. They need the conflict. One calls the other infidel. The other calls the other one heathen. Several groups claim that they each have the true answer of life. So now we got this new age material, all these channelers, teaching the whole world a new religion. Teaching that you're God, I'm God, we're all divine. And they are exclusionary to all other systems. How are we going to deal with that? Kyron says, the answer to the problem has already begun. There is a spiritual leader in your country who has been severely critical of those who come in to this planet with the heavy karmatic attribute of a gender shift. A gender shift. A planned challenge. And some of you know what I mean. In the past, this religious leader called this group, you're not even going to believe what's in this book, Sodomites. Wish I could make this up. Remember, sodomy was a big issue in the Bible. The Sodomites were destroyed by God. In the past, this religious leader called this group Sodomites. The leader went on record as being against anyone who came in with this gender issue. So if you're a spiritual being born on earth now, you better not have a gender issue. It says it here. And he told his following in the past that these family members were hated by God. They're changing that. Not long ago, this particular religious leader met face to face with those whom he had berated, and he had called them loved human family. Oh, he still didn't agree with what they represented or what they did. But something inside gave testimony to the fact that he loved them. And he spoke publicly to his following that God loved them too. Dear ones, what happened to shift that man's mind? Why now? Indeed, it was the love of the Spirit. It has to do with his realization on the cellular level that he would have to preach and practice tolerance even if he didn't agree with them. He would have to meet face to face with the enemy, the ones he had called sinners, who he had told his flock didn't even deserve to be here, even though he disagreed with them. They loved one another face to face before all to see. He also acknowledged their right to worship the same God as he does. Did you find the timing of this interesting? Do you find it profound? Do you believe in mind control? Do you think they're weather controlling and weather warfare on the planet? Do you think it's underway? Is the CIA and all these religious organizations, and even involved with these New Age cults, trying to change the way people think to accept something that God said was wrong? Who's right, who's wrong? So the Christians will be the demonized ones, and the demonized ones will declare themselves gods. Alright, I'm going to just read this one last portion and end this video. Kyron, will there ever be a time when there is one religion on earth? No. It was not designed that way, and it is very important to think that this could ever be. The potential is this, dear ones. There may come a time when there is instead religious tolerance and doctrinal wisdom. So he's talking two-faced, in my opinion. He's saying, no, there won't be a united one. But he says, yes, there'll be a united tolerance and doctrinal wisdom. My partner spoke earlier of the wicked Pope. A prophetic subject related to the fact that according to the Dead Sea Scrolls, we've been going over that, we're going to go over that some more. The Essenes called Christ the wicked priest. I'm not so sure that's true. I've been going over the Edgar Casey material. And Mary, the mother of Jesus, came from the Essenes. So we have to kind of find out where that came from when he said that. He was called that because he gave away the secrets of the temple and promoted human spiritual enablement. Do you know why there is this prediction? And do you know what the potentials are for the wicked Pope? I'll tell you. So there you go. Thank you for watching my video, Rick Miracle reporting.